Hi, Plantation Golf Club. My name's Brandon Jones. I'm the general manager here at the club. And today we have Chris Adams with us. He's our new golf course superintendent. So how long have you officially been here now, Chris?
Is it June 5th? That's
Last time I checked, June
yeah,
5th. Yeah.
it's that's been 1 month. I started, well, I'll remember it. It's easy to remember. I started on Cinco de Mayo.
Oh,
It makes it
nice.
easy to remember.
That is.
So, yep. So
So
after,
what do you think so far?
well, challenging to say the
I know that's a very
least.
broad brush of like, well, what do you think so
Yeah,
far?
no,
But
and a very broad answer,
yeah,
challenging, because
yeah,
what are the challenges, and
sure.
why would I say that? But for the broad question, the broad answer is a lot of challenges out here, and I knew that coming into it. I interviewed several times. I talked about this golf course with my superiors at Brightview several times,
Yeah,
and thought long and hard about it. But at the end of the day, something definitely told me that, well, one, I could do it, and
sure.
two, that this would be another fun and exciting challenge for me.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So
Um, I kind of have the same feeling about this place. The plantation at Leesburg, these people are fantastic that you come in contact with. They're always willing to help. We have a good amount of volunteers that want to help and do stuff. And, at the end of the day, all we all want to do is just see this place
yeah,
succeed. And,
yeah,
we are just a small part of that puzzle of putting it all together to make this thing work. One of the reasons why we want to do this video today is kind of give you guys a peek behind the curtain of what it's like of, the relationship between a general manager and a superintendent and what we talk about on a daily basis with different stuff of what they have going on. And we'll get into some of that stuff later. More of this right now is trying to find out more about you and whatnot, where you come from. With that, so what got you into turf grass? I mean,
well, so when go way back, I
yeah.
was 12 when they built a golf course down the road from my house. This is, well, gosh, a lot of transplants here, so a lot of you may have heard of this town. It's called Putnam, Connecticut. Born and raised. The Putnam Country Club was built, I want to say, 1994.
Mm-hmm.
And the second they opened their doors, I got hired as a cart kid. I was the second I was old enough to even really physically work. I
Yeah.
was cleaning carts, picking the range, doing all that. I got friendly with the superintendent of that time, and I was kind of on the side started off doing side jobs on the weekend when I was
Yeah.
supposed to be doing the cart barn. And I started off by like, hey, do you want to put the coolers out and
Yeah.
go pull the trash for me? And I'm like, you get this little 3-speed turf truckster, at 16 years old. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, let's do it. So yeah, I was in golf course maintenance at an early age, even before I was old enough to technically be on the payroll, and didn't necessarily recognize it as my career at the
Sure.
time. I
Yeah.
actually started college in 2000 as an education major. That lasted about half a semester, and I decided the golf course, the early mornings, the nature,
Yeah.
the 200-acre office, whatever it is,
Yeah.
that was what I decided I wanted to do. So
Yeah. I have that same feeling. Like,
yeah,
one of the big things I like being on my side is that, some people like in their jobs and careers, you go to work and you just kind of dread going in. For whatever reason. But for me, it's like, I see people come in. Everybody's got a smiling face on
yeah,
typically when they come to
absolutely.
the golf course, right?
You
We're
work at
coming
a
here to
golf
play golf.
course,
Exactly.
yeah,
And everybody's in a good mood
yeah,
typically, right?
no,
So that's one of the
typically.
perks of doing it. Yeah,
So, but no, totally. I just kind of evolved from there. I
sure.
mean, I've just elevated through the ranks. I've learned started with learning every assignment and every piece of equipment you
Yeah.
could, and ultimately ended up taking my first superintendent gig 15 years ago in 2010.
Oh,
So,
nice.
36 hole facility
Yeah.
that needed kind of similar help that this course does. So, I actually have a lot of experience getting the recovery that
Yeah.
is needed here. I've already done. So
Oh, that's cool.
excited about
Yeah.
taking that experience and, well, just
Sure.
elevating it. Now I've got 15 years behind me of doing
Yeah.
it. So I've definitely figured out what works and what doesn't,
Yeah.
and I've weeded out a lot of the stuff. So it kind of became a niche of mine to kind of come in and
An easy
come
niche,
in.
right? It's
Yeah,
easy to come into stuff like and
it
do this, right?
really is, because I have done it so many times.
Really?
It comes in,
Yeah.
yeah, and it comes in and it just, I mean, I'm comfortable doing it
Sure.
because it's like I know what's going to happen next, and I know
Yeah,
what's
you know
next,
the
and
processes
yeah.
that you've done, and it's
So
just slowly building those together,
yeah,
and didn't
you know,
happen overnight, right?
all the bright ideas I've had over the years that didn't work. Yeah, we throw
Yep.
them, throw that in the bin.
Yep.
So the bright ideas that did work are I believe are what have shaped me, to who I am today.
Sure.
So
Sure. Absolutely. That's why they brought you on as superintendent here,
yeah,
right?
seemingly it really does seem like it was the fit for me and the fit for the
Yeah.
course. I really think
So,
that.
what's your kind of philosophy on like course aesthetics, playability standpoint? What I mean by that is, do you want to see long rough? Do you want to see the greens rolling at like a 14, right?
Right, right. Well,
Um,
that is an excellent question because my preference, believe it or not, is what the masses preference is. Like, what is the clientele that plays each club that I come to?
sure.
I've actually used the analogy of like, I'm your turf waiter today.
Yeah.
Like, how would you like your green speeds?
Yeah.
How would you like your, and I do,
Yeah.
I take that approach to
Sure.
it. And I feel like it's only a win-win, right? Because the masses get what they want. Now, of
Yeah.
course, in masses, there's people that want 14s, there's people that want 8s.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, you got to find the happy medium there. But I feel like a place like this probably should roll around a 10.
Yeah.
Probably not too fast, not too
Yeah.
slow.
I would agree.
Probably, that captures our outside play. It captures the members. That's something that they can get
Yeah.
used to. And, we'll get there. Right now, we're
Sure.
still kind of in recovery mode, but more so on the outer side than the cranes. But, once we get all the grass on the field, then we can really start talking about, you know, ball speed and
Sure.
aesthetics. So,
Sure.
and on top, leaving the greens, the tee boxes, the fairways. Like for me, I'm clean and green across the board.
Yeah.
I probably have the biggest. What's the word I'm looking for? The biggest expectations of myself
Sure.
than anyone else
Yeah.
because like I have developed this desire for full density, clean of weeds, and a green appearance. And I literally don't stop until I
Yeah.
get there.
Yeah.
And and we will. I mean, there's a lot of turf weeds out there, but let's be real, they don't take the priority over
Yeah.
the generating the recovery that we need to
Sure.
generate first. So it is a priority game.
Yeah.
We do need to make sure that we are, have those priorities in order. There's still, like, for example, there's stuff I'd like to do to the bunkers.
Yeah.
Until the greens are where they need to be,
Yeah.
like, who cares, right? I
Yeah.
mean, like, we do care, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but, that just priority will, rise to the top as other priorities are completed.
So you're saying main priority right now is definitely the
It's
greens, right?
definitely greens turf recovery. Next to that, tee turf recovery.
Yeah.
Next to that, fairway turf recovery. And then next to that, rough turf recovery. So
Nice.
turf recovery in a nutshell is
Sure.
really what we're focusing on, all four of those at once. We did, talk about the team of college kids that it started out as an idea. Hey, do you guys want summer work?
Yeah.
And then it became, you know what? I need guys on these greens every single day.
Yeah.
They're only going to be here 60 days. That's about the time frame we need.
Yeah.
So it's like, look, let me show them greens recovery. And now these kids will be part of something that they'll probably remember the rest of their lives. So what we've got planned for the greens that are in the worst shape right now, we've actually prioritized them with 3 otter, 7 otter, 5 otter, 4 otter, 17 cranes roost. When they've reached those 5, we're going to reprioritize and do some of the smaller damage. But what they're doing is removing mechanically or by hand all of the spurge on the green. The spurge came with the nematodes. Nematodes are what was detrimental to these greens. We're on a wonderful nematode program now where we apply products monthly to mitigate the nematode pressure. Once all the spurge is removed, we're coming through with a hand spiker. We're blasting up all the algae. We are breaking up all the algae on the green, removing it, and covering it with sand and nature safe. What this man who just walked in for a second decided he was going to do, I'm going to be honest, I told him, dump a bag of nature safe. It's an organic fertilizer good for helping generate new turf. What I told him to do is dump a bag in the cart and fill it up with sand, stir it all up. He took it a step further. I wanted to give him the credit on this. And he's mixing 1 scoop of that fertilizer with 4 scoops of sand consistently so that the entire green gets a consistent blend of the sand and nature safe. What the sand and nature safe will do is create a growing medium for the sprigs, for every little sprig that's out there on those greens to web together. Bermuda grass grows on rhizomes and stolons. That's basically above and below ground runners, for easier words. those runners will move and grow. And that's why when we propagate Bermuda, we don't actually seed it or sod it. We can for faster results, but because we do have vegetation out there, the goal is going to be push it, quite literally. Make it grow fast, and make it web together, similar to that. So the sand in Nature Safe is that step. They rub it in with a level on. We're going to give it a shot of ammonium sulfate after that. That's going to be just, some fertilizer that's going to help kick it in the rear end and make it grow a little faster. So that's these guys' plan. We've got our 3 seminal interns coming in this summer, and that all they're going to do for the next 60 days before they go back to their second year at FSU is they are going to focus on this. And when they reach the end of all 36 greens, we'll just start over and keep doing it over and over until all the grass is grown in. We should be seeing results week after week after week after week. And I'll even try to see if I can blog the journey, but I'll admit the day gets away from me. So it's hard to do. Maybe I'll have them do it. But that's it. That's the plan for the bad greens.
What do you see maybe in 60 days? Where do you see like these greens? Especially everybody's worried about the front 9 of otter and stuff.
Sure.
Obviously, we have another video that's going to be coming after this one, kind of you going over that. But where do you see the recovery at in about 60 days? Do you think there'll be full coverage?
Yeah, I do. And I think there will be some that are close, but we brought out, we can bring out the hex pluggers for that. We could maybe steal some turf if we have to from the nursery green. But I don't want to steal turf from anywhere until we just push for about 60 days and see what we have left. And what I believe is we'll see 90 to 95%, possibly more coverage. So to continue the conversation we had at the drawing board, I talked about the spurge. And typically nematodes attack sandy, drier, nutrient deficient soils, and for whatever reason the spurge takes over where the turf was. The spurge loves nematode infected grass. So what the boys did this morning is pull every last piece of this spurge off of the greens. They put it in a bucket and dumped it in the bed of a cart, and I put it in the dumpster, get it off the property. It's gone. After that, we can come over here. This is more of a finished part we're on, but then they broke up the black algae. You guys all know about the black algae. I hear about it all the time. What are we doing about all this black algae? Well, then they spiked it up. They got it into like little specks and flakes. And it's actually good organic matter when it's not a crust blocking growth and inhibiting the recovery. So that's when they mix the sand that I told you about with the organic fertilizer that's literally named Nature Safe. It's feather meal, bone meal, seaweed extract, all kinds of like supernatural stuff that helps promote recovery. And they use it, they level all of it into the ground here, and it gives the turf a growing medium to recover in and web in. And this is kind of the visual, what I was just talking about inside. And they'll do these areas. Obviously, they're not going to do, an area that's nice and full, like that one green spot there, but they're working their way this way. This is the progress for today. And tomorrow they'll continue on this way, breaking up some more of this algae and covering these areas with the sand.
And Chris, this is one of the reasons why we kind of made this a temporary green, right?
That's exactly it. If you'll pan behind you there, you'll see we just kind of painted a circle there in the approach, a nice clean area of the approach. Unfortunately, it doesn't play like a real green, but the benefit of it is tenfold. I mean, it keeps the traffic off. It keeps us working because we don't have to stop for play. And, we'll just keep doing what we're doing here. We'll open the screen back up. I don't know. I haven't decided. We'll open it up when we feel like it's ready. And
perfect.
When we get when we get some good recovery to it.
Sure.
And like I said, once they get through all 36 holes, they'll come back to this very green. This is where they started. And whatever's at that point still needs to be touched up, they'll do the process again. And we'll continue that process over and over until we're done, quite frankly. So
fantastic.
That's the goal.
Now, when you say nursery green, where's your nursery green?
We don't have a nursery green. Okay. What I actually meant to say was chipping green.
Gotcha. No, that's fine.
So, which also needs its help. So,
yeah,
I mean, sure. we'll get that. That's part of our routine as well. That'll be part of the repertoire. We'll get that in the mix. It'll probably fall in priority to the golf course.
Yeah.
Let's be real.
Yeah.
Let's get these 36 greens and that putting green behind the
Yeah.
clubhouse. Let's get that, where it needs to be.
Sure.
Not to say the chipping green is not important, but
Yeah.
it'll probably be last on of the
And you're talking about
38.
the green down at the driving range.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's what I call it
Yeah.
anyway. Is
Yeah.
the
No,
chipping green, right?
it absolutely is. It's the
Yeah.
chipping green down
Yeah.
there,
So,
and then behind the clubhouse is the
yeah,
putting green.
that's right.
That we use.
Yep.
And I mean, we could take plugs out of that too, right?
Yeah, and some of you probably already seen, we actually took a lot of it when we airified on the crane's roof side.
Mm-hmm.
We took a lot of plugs that day and we brought them and we spread them out, flattened them, watered them, fed them, crushed them into the ground. Those actually became sprigs of greens grass. So we'll take that and we'll just keep pounding the food and water to it. When I say pounding food, it actually triggers something that I think is important to say, is this recovery effort takes a lot of fertilizer. And I think a lot of people possibly cringe or worry about fertilizer. And I think it's important to say that, like, when turf is in recovery, it's very much in its infancy. And when I say I use a lot of fertilizer, it's not at once.
Yeah.
It's, I won't say literally a spoon feed because I don't use a spoon, but
Yeah.
I am feeding just the turf what it needs that day to generate some recovery. And that's why we do it so frequently.
Yeah.
So to not get the image of our head as like, oh my God, they're fertilizing every week. That's got to be good. It's not like that. It's not like we're just fertilizing everything and it's running down the road. We are fertilizing just enough to give the turf a shot of what it needs to recover week after week after week. And the plant uses that. It breaks down that energy. It uses that energy. It uses that food. And we just keep doing that until we're there. And then we'll have a maintenance plan. That's a different plan altogether. But an easier one.
So you mentioned Crane's Roost and the airification over there. How did airification go? Are you pleased with?
I'm pleased with how it ultimately came out. It took longer than we wanted to, admittingly. I think our closure even went a little longer than we would have liked it to have gone. But progress and perseverance, and it's behind us now.
Sure.
And I like how we put a generous amount of sand on those greens, and that is your putting surface at the end of the day. The green, the grass is for aesthetics. It's the sand that your ball rolls on. So we got that in there. We got that smooth, and when we got that recovery program rolling, and by recovery program, I mean, like, I have literally written out a week by week by week plan for what these greens are going to eat and drink, and and what the soil's going to take in. And
so basically, they're on a diet.
They are. They
have a diet.
A recovery diet. And I mean, it started with, how much do we want to say about nematodes? I mean,
if I've heard nematodes once, I've heard it a million times.
Yeah, and it's like, and that's that. What's scientifically speaking, that's how they got where they got. And so I started a program for that. That's a monthly application in itself. And believe it or not, that's a pretty organic program. Like, that's not a very environmentally sensitive program. It's actually a pretty organic product. It's sesame oils and surfactants, and it's a blend of just like the stuff that works, the stuff that suppresses. There's really there are nematode killers. You used to have to put on a moon suit and then put those, but all those are off the market. I mean, like, there really are no more nematode killers on the market. You have to suppress and grow past it. And if we suppress and feed, we'll stay ahead of it. That's
so you feel pretty good with where you're headed at with the nematodes and all that?
I believe they are under control. I will say that the control of them did start prior to my arrival, so that was helpful. Once that, we did continue, to do that, and will continue monthly to do that.
Sure.
Just to keep them at bay, and then keep them suppressed, give us a chance to grow ahead of them. So,
what about? And everybody sees this when they go out on the greens, the black stuff that's out there. What is
algae.
That? Yeah.
So that's a crust of algae. Basically, that's because there's nothing holding that soil, and all the water we do put on the greens does eventually, harden up and crust over. And that crust makes it virtually impossible to get recovery. The grass cannot run in that, and that's why we break it up. So, taking that deciding to do everything by hand was ultimately a decision that came to me like this week. We really wanted to be able to run machines over it and get things, and it just, because of the nature of what we needed to do, it just decided that I think the finesse of hands-on work was the best way to go. So we have this hand spiker that you can literally just break everything up by hand, come behind it with the blend of the sand and the organic nature safe, and just, you know, get everything where it needs to be. And
what about some of the fungus that we've seen out here, the green sludge type stuff that you can slip and fall on?
That's also algae buildup too. That typically comes from excessive watering or rain. Weather probably isn't on our side to blame the rain. So, but it brings me to irrigation. Irrigation is a daily assignment, and something that I've instilled since I came here is what I call plussing and minusing. And anybody can help me with this. Really, send me a text. Hey, this area of the fairway is too wet. This area of the fairway looks a lot dry. I'm okay with having all the eyes in the field that you could possibly have. And it comes back to you saying the volunteers and the people that play this golf course and live on this golf course are very into that, and that works in my favor. I recognize that, and I love that. All those eyes help me recognize that. And what I mean by the plussing and minusing is if I see an area that just needs more water, I can identify that zone in the irrigation computer and just dial that one sprinkler up. And similarly, if it's too wet because of irrigating, like if a lot of times approaches for whatever reason, because they get that greens water and they get some water from the fairway, sometimes that the approaches can get wet, and I can just dial down the 2 front heads on the green, maybe one fairway head. That's you know, identify where that water is coming from and just dial it down. So minusing. So plus it if it's dry, minus it if it's too wet, and it's never ending. That never ends. That's a 365 job.
So what we can do for this process of notifying you can call the pro shop 352-365-0526.
I see it as help. I honestly do.
Call in there, let them know, or you can email me, gmplantation@leesburg@gmail.com, and I can get it to Chris here.
Hey, Christopher.adams@brightview.com. I'll take the email.
There you go.
And seriously, I see all those eyes as helpful to me. It's like it's almost like I have, you know, hundreds of extensions of my own team. Because it is only helpful to be able to say, okay, all you got to do is say where it is, right by the bunker on X hole, and then I can figure out the zone and take it from there.
So, that's great.
And I mean it. Like I said, that job never ends. You are dialing irrigation 365 for the end of time.
So, what kind of short-term goals have you set? Any short-term goals?
Greens.
Greens.
I mean,
anything.
The greens are the priority, right? Golfers play greens fees, right? That's the saying that I've always believed in, and every single golfer hits the green eventually. Just kidding. But no, that's the thing is the green is the focal point of the golf course. That has to be the priority. I've worked places where they literally will tell me, I don't care about anything else, get these greens right. And while that's not necessarily my philosophy, it still is the priority, right? The greens have to be priority. And I joked with Brandon earlier today that I'm growing out my beard and I'm not shaving it until they're done. It's like my playoff beard and maybe my incentive to, you know, we'll see how long this thing gets. Hopefully I'm trimming it
I hope it's not very long.
Hopefully I'm trimming it sooner than later, but I thought I'd throw that little tidbit out.
We want to see the baby face, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, but no, I mean, these greens are, I mean, let's be real. These greens are what I came here for. And until they're where they're at, and I don't plan on, you know, doing anything but succeeding on that. So, well,
awesome.
And then, you know, that's the short-term goal is greens. And then from there, it's like, how about a 1-year plan, 3-year plan, 5-year plan?
I was about to ask you, like, what kind of long-term stuff do
and
you
it's
see
like, that's the
for
thing.
Plantation?
And I mean, we can do that, you know, like there's areas of like washouts of bunkers and washouts of retention areas that are around the course, and we can rebuild those things. Like those are things, but, you know, lower on the priority list. Maybe a full bunker renovation wouldn't hurt. I mean, down the road. And I mean, that's something that obviously Brightview and the Plantation would work out, you know, as something extra to do. But I mean, you know, right now I'm such a day-by-day guy that greens.
Did you say
tees,
greens?
Greens again. Greens, tees, fairways, rough. And I mean, all that recovery is all I really want to do. And, you know, all that fertilizer, I mean, I've taught brand new guys how to run a fertilizer spreader. I mean, the more guys I can have fertilizing out there, the better. It's like, and showing them what to look for, you know, hit all these spots that are thin. Oh, you know what is helpful to recovery? Driving on the best turf you can find. If there's anything that would be helpful more than finding wet spots, more than finding dry spots, is driving on the best turf you can find. That week,
or on the cart path,
or on the cart path.
Or
greens
on
and
the cart
tees,
path.
great. That's even better. Greens and
Yes.
tees have beautiful, beautiful cart paths. But no, I can't say that enough. The biggest help to me would be driving on the best turf you can find.
Yeah.
So as you're coming down a fairway, 6 otter jumps out of my head.
Sure.
There's a dirt spot here and a dirt spot there. You'll find me literally driving around them, and people probably wondering what I'm doing out there. I'm dodging the areas that need to recover, and the more we can keep traffic out of those areas, the faster it'll happen.
Absolutely. And I notice it, like, people pull up to a tee box and they may have 2 wheels off the cart path.
Yep.
Keep it all on the cart path, even and at the green.
All 4 wheels.
Keep all 4 wheels on the path.
I've had people say to me,
right?
"Oh, I was just pulling off in case somebody had to get by." Well, I'd rather somebody drive around you once than you pull off 87 times or however many times you play. So however many shots you take. So, like, seriously, just the par 3s especially, were cart path all the way, tee to green. The tees and the greens, they were installed for that purpose, to protect the integrity of the tee slopes and the green slopes.
Yep.
If we're using them, you really are helping more than you probably even imagine.
Agreed. And that's kind of why we implemented 2 carts per group. To cut down on some of that.
Traffic,
down 3 and 4 carts out there.
Traffic is a big deal. Let's be real. No, and that's the number one reason to do it. Other might be inventory.
Sure.
On a busy day, you run out of carts too fast, but the number one reason to do that is to limit the traffic.
Yep.
Golf cart traffic, I don't know how, I think we're all of the age of the golf cart at this point. So some
may want to call it a buggy.
We don't. We don't want to remember back to the days where golf was a walking sport with caddies and everything. But the traffic that golf carts have generated, and I've done a lot of grow-ins. I've done a lot of courses from its inception to where it's like, oh, this place is just pristine, and then the day you let the carts go, it's like there goes there goes the. And I'm not saying
just a little bit of a cringe to you, right?
Yeah, and I'm not saying don't drive. I play golf. I'm going to drive to my ball. But I also, it's funny because, like, even my friends who have been my friends forever, that have I've been a superintendent forever, they know the cart rules because they're my friends, and they'll implement it on their friends, and it's just like, just do what you can.
Well, the old saying from the pro shop side is that the maintenance staff is going to tear up the golf course more than any of the golfers, right?
Yeah, I don't like that to be true.
Yeah.
So, and that definitely is part of my job.
We don't have that case here, though.
Yeah, that's definitely my job, is to make sure that isn't happening. Yeah. And I have, almost daily meetings. There's some mornings where I'm like, let's hit it, guys. Sure. No meeting. But there's some mornings where that coordination meeting just matters. And it's hard to grab everyone's attention at 5 a.m, let me tell you. But on those mornings when there's just a lot going on, there's a lot of moving parts to, let's say, we're going to cut, spray, fertilize, and water it all in. Well, if that gets out of order, it's kind of like we can't mow after we spray. You know what I mean? So, we make sure that those coordination meetings happen. And during these meetings, I'm telling the guys, look, you're not maintenance workers. You're not lawn mowers. You guys are turf care professionals, and part of that is understanding that we are trying to generate a high-end, a quality turf product is the best way to put it.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Anything else you want to add? I have a little surprise for you here.
Oh boy, I love surprises. My birthday was last month. What the heck? No. Gosh, I think I really got it out.
Yeah, no, I think you did a tremendous
I think I really got it out with the golf cart thing.
Yeah.
If I could just communicate that, No, I do, and I think in the last thing I would say before I get my surprise is that I do have quite the open door policy. I don't think a lot of superintendents do, but I just believe in the benefit of it. I mean,
I do too. That's why my door, for the most part, stays open when you come in the pro shop.
And those who have come to me, I've had that in the past, and it's like, as a superintendent, you kind of eye roll when every single person I've talked to is just like, look, I just want to know what I can do to help. And that's the type of attitude I love. And it makes me want to invite more of it because it takes all of us. Right. Yeah. So, absolutely. So that's my closing thoughts before my surprise.
I got something that I thought would be kind of funny and cool. I got a list of 10 questions here to try to get to know you a little bit better. And I might answer a few of these myself.
Sure.
Because I'm sure some people might want to know my answer.
I'm having fun. Let's go.
Yeah. All right. So first question, if you could have any superpower, but only for a day, what would it be?
Only for a day, though? Because the first thing that comes to mind is to control the weather. but like, what's one day gonna
Yeah,
really get me? So I mean, I don't know, to generate money.
There you go.
I
I think mine would be.
I think I generate as much as I can in a day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would want to be like Superman or something. I want to fly. I just want to
That's
fly.
true. I want to be able to see that. I mean, we
Yeah.
have helicopters.
Yeah, but
They're
like if I was
expensive,
like a bird and I could
That's
like
true.
fly,
That's true.
that'd
Be a little
cool.
more independent.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Which animal do you think would make the best superhero sidekick?
Dogs, come
Well,
on.
of course.
Like,
I mean, that's so easy,
they
right?
just,
That's a
no, I
softball.
mean,
Yeah.
it is a softball. But I mean, they want to do whatever you're doing anyways. So
Yeah.
they want to be part of it. Like,
Yeah.
that's all mine ever want to
I would
do.
agree. I have
Yeah.
2 German Shepherds, Nash and Nola. Love them to death.
Nice.
And you got dogs too, right?
I got Mally and Maya. So like we have
Nice.
the letter thing going there. But if we
Cool.
that's nothing. I think.
Uh-oh.
No, it's.
All right. If you were stranded on a desert island, what's one thing you'd absolutely bring?
Camera still rolling? Okay.
Got it?
Oh gosh, water.
Yeah.
I mean, if I knew I was going to be stranded,
Yeah.
I'd have to. It'd have to be. That'd be the only answer. Has to be, right?
Yeah. I could bring one thing. I might bring like Starlink or something, but I don't know how to get power to it, right?
That's true. That's the other thing. But like, I mean, if you're not hydrating, you're not going to.
Yeah, I don't think a cell phone might. Well,
Yeah.
you know what? The cell phones might work now because some of them got satellite stuff.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
Might not be
Good
bad.
questions. Fun questions.
All right. What's your guilty pleasure TV show? Do you have one? Do you watch?
I don't watch a lot of TV,
Okay.
but I've binged a few shows over the years. Way back when, like, I was a big Friends fan, Seinfeld, back when I watched a lot of TV.
Yeah.
I don't watch a lot of TV these days, but I've recently binged Yellowstone.
Oh,
I ain't gonna lie, I thought that was
Yeah.
pretty cool. Like Rip Wheeler, pretty cool guy. You want to emulate?
Oh yeah, you're going after
Yeah,
goal.
that's
Rip
it.
Wheeler.
That's the point here.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. It's not. But the point is, like, I just don't want to shave right now. I don't know. I'm too tired. But
yeah.
I guess guilty pleasure Yellowstone. I know it's kind of. I think the chicks dig it a little more, but like, so I'll throw that out there.
I love all those shows.
I'll
go ahead and throw myself under the bus with this one.
Okay.
That I'm about to say, American Idol. I love it.
Yeah.
I just I hadn't watched. I started out when it first started. I watched a lot of it. Then quit, and then this season I got sucked in for some reason. I guess it was because of Carrie Underwood. I don't know.
Carrie,
yeah.
That'll happen.
Yeah.
And that particular season she was on,
Yeah.
she became one of my favorite artists quite quick. So
Nice.
I understand that. But what are they on? 37 seasons now, something like that.
I think it's 157.
Something like that.
Yeah, there's a lot.
It's like the WoW CDs.
Yeah.
What do we have? WoW. That's what I call music. 212.
Yeah.
Something like that.
If you had to give up pizza or chocolate forever, which would it be?
Chocolate.
Chocolate?
Yeah.
Not a chocolate guy.
Yeah. No, I just like pizza.
Yeah.
I
think I probably would too.
But if I was limited to like chain pizzas, I think I would switch that answer. But like a good New York pizza pub style pizza,
nice.
I'm a sucker for that. The one with the grease runs off of it.
Oh yeah.
You watch Guilty?
Yeah. Barstool Sports.
Oh yeah.
One bite.
Everybody knows.
Yeah. One bite. Everybody knows the rules.
He's done pizza parlors I've been to in both Florida and Connecticut. And I thought
that's
that was pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like my small town in Connecticut, he's been to some of those already. Yeah, but he's from up there, so that kind of makes sense.
No, I love that stuff. I love pizza. My wife went to his favorite one, which is John's of Bleecker in New York.
Oh, no kidding.
She was there, and then she was flying back the next day. Brought me back a slice just so I could taste it.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Pretty cool.
That's cool.
Would you rather have to sing everything you say, or dance everywhere you go?
It is a tough one. No, probably the sing. I feel like I'm a terrible dancer, but I'm also a terrible singer.
I'm terrible at both, but I would probably say sing.
But if you like, when I'm alone in the car or the shower, I'm pretty much singing. So
you're belting out those Carrie Underwood tunes, aren't you?
Guilty. Jesus, take the wheel.
Yeah. Oh.
Can I say?
If animals could talk, which one do you think would be the most annoying?
That's a good one. Small dogs.
Yes.
They seem to have a lot to say.
Yes. I was going to say cats.
Yeah. Cats cross my mind, to be honest with you. But, like, cats, I feel like wouldn't have a lot to say. They would just, what they say would be kind of bossy or demanding, maybe.
Yeah.
Like, but, yeah, I think small dogs just seem to have a lot to say for whatever reason.
Dude.
So
especially those little chihuahuas.
Yeah. But I don't hate. I love all animals.
Yeah.
So.
No, I do too.
Except for the ones that damage turf. Right.
Oh yeah. Those are no bueno.
No, actually, I saw a sandhill crane catch a mole today, and I was like, "Hey, man, thanks."
Really?
I thought that was cool. Yeah, first time in my life. I actually
And
saw
you didn't
that.
video document it?
I kind of flew by it fast, to be honest. Yeah,
That'd have been a great TikTok.
yeah,
probably.
no, there's a lot of things I wish I'd videoed right after
Yeah.
you see it, but it's like, wow, that was cool, and I
Yeah.
just didn't even think of it. I was just driving.
If you could only eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it be? You gonna say pizza?
I won't. I smoke a lot of meat, and I really like my smoked meats. Wings are my specialty.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know if wings would be the answer, but like it would definitely be.
Some kind of smoked meat.
It might not even be a smoked meat. I think
Really?
just straight up ribeyes. Like I just a sucker for a good ribeye,
Oh man.
and I mean, I don't think I think it's like literally the only thing I wouldn't get sick of.
Yeah.
Because it's like, yeah, I've tried like I'm gonna only eat salads, and I
Yeah.
got a week into that, and I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
I guess.
I'm definitely a steak guy. I would
Yeah,
definitely go
love it.
for that. Would be mine. It's
Yeah,
definitely a ribeye.
that's like, yeah, just something about them. Yeah,
If you were a dog, which breed would you be? You think?
man, I love mine. My black lab's pretty cool, and then I have a golden retriever mixed with Great Pyrenees.
Yeah.
Who's just real sweetheart. Just loves everybody. But if I could be a dog, I do love German Shepherds. You brought them up, and I think they're pretty cool dogs.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like I'm a cool dog. So
you'd be a German
I
Shepherd?
think so. I think so.
Nice.
I think that's what I would choose. I mean that. Yeah.
All right, this one's weird, and I this is our last one.
Yeah,
And
what
then-
made you
then
do
we'll
this?
cut.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. This is a weird one, and I don't even know if I
Grand
have, if
finale.
I have a good answer. For
Grand
it.
finale question.
Grand
There you go.
finale question.
All right.
What is your favorite smell?
Fresh cut grass.
Fresh cut grass.
Yeah. Easy.
Perfect.
Yeah. I do
love
like
it.
that healthy fresh cut grass.
Yeah.
It has a different smell than
Sure.
just grass. Like fresh cut turf that's been
Oh man.
under a meticulously maintained program. Y'all are gonna know what that smells like soon enough.
Yeah.
So, but it's
Awesome.
a cool smell. Adds to the early morning aroma.
Yeah.
I could get like sadistic and be like, oh, I love sludge and certain insecticides because it's like, I actually, quick funny story. I had an HOA vice president text me one night, and he was eating dinner on the veranda, English speaking guy kind of, and English accent guy.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
and he's like, I'm having dinner on the veranda, and it smells mysteriously like manure. And I'm like, oh, that's the smell of growth. You learn to love it. And that was my answer to him. But we had a good relationship. I didn't just sarcastically throw that at him. He got a laugh out of it. And I don't know whether he went inside from the veranda at that point or finished his dinner. But
Yeah.
maybe around the veranda I don't use that going forward is what I said.
Oh, boy.
But no, I do. I do. It's weird. I do like the smell of it because I associate it with growth. But no, I think a real good smell is that fresh cut turf.
Oh, dude,
So,
I couldn't agree more. But my answer was not fresh cut grass. Me being a Disney guy, my wife is just absolutely obsessed with Disney. Man, when you make that drop in Pirates of the Caribbean, and you get down there and you have that smell,
that's a really unique.
It's a very unique smell.
Very answer, yeah. I think I know exactly the ride. I'm trying to picture the smell, but now I gotta go. I gotta go to Disney to experience it.
My wife bought a candle that has got that smell, and it's in her house.
Didn't know that
Crazy.
existed. I have seen. I think Yankee Candle puts out a
Disney stuff.
No, a fresh cut grass smell.
Really?
I don't know if it's accurate or not, but I never bought it. But I did see that. I think Yankee does it. One of those candle makers does it. Yankee or Bath and Body Works or one of those candle.
So, Chris, you got anything else you want to share?
Man, I don't know. That's quite a bit of sharing.
Yeah.
That's quite a bit of sharing.
Yeah.
I've met a lot of people, and I do look forward to meeting more.
Yeah.
Don't be offended if I try to keep it short. I got a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of work to do.
Yeah, there's a lot to do. But I'm not offended if you come by or call or email. So
awesome. Well, thank you much, guys. Thank you so much, guys.
May or may not edit that.
Yeah, no, I'm not editing that. I don't care. We're out here on hole
authentic.
15 of Otter, and just wanted to give you guys a peek behind the curtain of what it's like, the interaction that we have. And it's very similar to this. Typically, it's maybe not as long as this, but we do communicate like
but
this.
But a few days a week, we do this off camera too. So.